Hello and welcome to a look at Trantor, the last Stormtrooper for the Commodore 64, the game that was made by Probe Software and released by Go, which was a subdivision label kind of thing of US Gold. The plot of Trantor is interesting because the game doesn't seem to know what its own plot is, but the introduction picture at the start of the video quite clearly indicated some sort of Rambo-like individual fighting outlaws. Then the introduction to the game, which of course was a rarity back then, showed a spacecraft descending, landing, and an individual left it, presumably Trantor. He was also quite clearly waving like he was expecting even someone to follow, and then the spacecraft disappeared. Did it disintegrate? Did it beam away? Who knows? Whatever the case, Trantor is trapped in this mine compound, complex, shopping center, whatever you define it as, and has to find a way to get away from it. In order to get away from it, he has to find the letters of a password, an 8-letter password, and decipher said password, because of course you don't get the letters in correct order. And once the password has been gathered and used on the right computer thingy, then you will get a beam code, which you can then go to the beam activation terminal and activate the beam and beam off, away, whatever. Trantor himself is equipped with a flamethrower. I don't know whether you would have identified that as a flamethrower, but that is what it is. And the way it seems to work is as long as there's a single pixel of the flamethrower's burst fire thing on screen, any enemies will still be hit by the flamethrower's burst thing's hitbox, which is nice to know. Sometimes it feels a bit wonky, but it works. Navigating the different levels, there are several different enemies which are automated defense systems trying to make life miserable for Trantor, and they move around in very predictable patterns, perhaps the same movement style. It's hard-coded to each individual enemies apparently, and depending on the height Trantor is at, he may or may not be able to hit them, which of course is always lovely. If you go through the interface quickly, the top left bar is his flamer fuel. In the middle is a timer, and of course it runs down, and every single time he accesses a terminal to get a letter for the password, it will reset the timer back to 90, or he can find a time bonus in one of the chest container thing, whatever they are. To the right, the bar to the right even is his health, and once that runs out, he dies. Better luck next go, it's said. Well, I got a few bits of information in that regard. Let's go over the technical aspect just to get it done. Graphics-wise, it's a bit of a mixed bag, because I mean the complex compound thing he runs around in is rather dull. There's a slight visual difference in the different levels, and it all looks very, very samey except for the fourth level, which is a barrel kind of level. The one level with unique enemies, and the big bulky individual monster things you find on that level. If you get hit by them, doesn't matter how much health you got, you instantly die. Trantor himself looks well animated, I suppose, but he's just extremely big for the area he's moving around in, which of course unfortunately means that depending on what level he's on, height level, I should say. He may or may not be able to hit certain enemies, and of course, because they constantly spawn and constantly move around, you will definitely face what is considered to be death by 1,000 cuts. Except for the big guys I mentioned before, there's no individual enemy that will kill you outright, but after about 30-40 hits, you will croak. I don't know if I like the look of Trantor or not. I can't decide. Um, uh, it, yeah, no comment. I know that's not very smart to say in a sort of overview review kind of video, but I don't hate him the way he looks, but I don't particularly like it either. So what can I say? The sound design is a bit interesting because the title music is okay. Some people seem to think it's quite nice, and I think it's okay. I don't really care much for it either way. The other sound effects is predominantly the extremely heavy boots of Trantor. He makes an awful lot of noise when he's running around, and if it gets on your nerves, it will get on your nerves constantly because, of course, you are moving constantly. All in all, the sound is okay. Yeah. The control aspect of this game is a bit interesting because you move left to move left and right to move right, and up to jump and down to duck and down to access chests, refuel points, and terminals. The thing is though, and this is something that you will find even extremely annoying, is once you have opened a chest kind of thing, or access the terminal, if you dock anywhere near it, you'll be told that you have already accessed it. And of course that means that if you have enemies flying overhead and you're trying to duck, or when you are near a terminal kind of thing, you get that message 10 billion times, which get extremely annoying, and then you end up just getting frustrated and taking the hits to your face because that's the only way you can get away from that bloody message. Because of his size, as I mentioned before, certain enemies can be extremely hard to hit, and there is an awful lot of unavoidable damage in this game, which adds an unnecessary layer to the difficulty. But without it, the game wouldn't be difficult at all, so I suppose it was a necessary evil. The gameplay is what you see. There's nothing overly interesting about it. It's not particularly action orientated because you only get rid of the enemies to avoid them damaging you. There's no score of any kind. There's a progression percentage which you are rated at the end of the game, whether you game over or completed. Finding the letters and trying to work out what the password is somewhat interesting, I suppose, but when the game said better log next go, and I said I had some information, I did quite a few games on this when I noticed that something was repeating in an interesting way, and after a good solid amount of games, I'm not going to number them because it's excessive for a game of this type, but once I commit myself, I am quite determined to work out whether I am right or not. And it turns out that there is no randomness in this game at all. The terminal you access on the first level, the letter from that terminal can tell you exactly what you will be finding in the individual strongbox chest things on each and every level for that game session. There is one crossover, but the second letter will define which of the two passwords you are gaining letters for, and in that regard you can, if you have the patience, write down what the different starting letters will give you as you go through the levels, and after a short amount of time, especially if you are being systematic about it, it is very, very quickly to just restart the game until you get the first letter that you like. B is recommended because that guarantees that there is an energy refill on the lowest level. This is a good place to get it. And once you discover that, as I said, restart the game, get the um, I don't know, script you want, and play through the game, complete it, and never touch it again, which I think is very, very likely. And if you're watching this video, you don't even have to touch the game. The introduction picture shows something. The introduction itself promises something exciting, and then you get Trantor. I remember years ago I was randomly bumping into that introduction, probably some naughty disc somewhere, whatever. But I was super, super hyped by watching that introduction because it had to be a great game. Then I finally got around to actually playing the game and discovered that it was definitely not the case. A Trantor is a game, but that's possibly the best and nicest thing you can say about it. We are now transporting away, and the game says that we apparently stole the plans of a bomb thing. Never picked anything up, but never mind. It also mentions Trantor 2, which apparently never materialized. Yeah. Yeah. On that note, I can say thanks for watching. Take care. See you next time. Bye bye for now.